president. Let me see if I can share this now. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Magic. Should share. Okay. So today we have the theme of independence. In so many venues, independence is important to us, but of course next weekend is our America's Independence Day. A lot of people are celebrating several Independence Days. And the word of the day is the Enlightenment. Actually, two words, the Enlightenment. Jerry came up with this. I think it's fantastic.
Can't see your screen. Can't see your screen, sorry. It's black.
I can see it.
I can hear it. Lisa, I can't hear anything. I can't hear you anymore.
Uh-oh. That's your internet.
My internet?
Are you guys hearing her?
I hear and see you.
And see you, Lisa. So you're fine.
Okay. I can't see you all anymore, but I don't know what happened with that. But anyways, going through today's agenda, the definition of the Enlightenment is an intellectual and philosophical movement that dominated the world of ideas in Europe during the 17th to 19th centuries. And we will go through the schedule once I allow Devin to open up our meeting, because I forgot last time. Let me turn over control of the meeting to Devin.
Thanks, Lisa. Welcome, everybody.
I don't know what happened.
Happy Friday. We have an exciting meeting today for you, and then we also have a bonus session afterwards. If you have time to stay for Stacy's presentation, that would be great. And this, as Lisa mentioned, is our last meeting of June and the last meeting of the term. So we have a lot of new and exciting changes coming your way. So we'll save the announcements for the end of the meeting. And with that, I'd like to welcome Lisa, who is our Toastmaster of the day. So please help me welcome Lisa.
Clap for myself. So I already went over the word of the day and the theme, being independent. And we have a very exciting meeting. We have table topics with Jerry. Joke Master is going to also be Jerry. If somebody else has a joke, we can hear two. I think we have time. Odd counter is Anita. Hello, Anita. We have Deanna as our grammarian. Hello, Deanna. Timer is Devin. Thank you, Devin. And hello again. General evaluator is Paul. Chat monitor and watcher is Megan. Hello, Megan. And Megan, we're going to also ask you to count ballots, which will only be for the table topics portion of today's meeting. Are you comfortable with that?
I don't know. That might be a little bit too confusing.
I can put me as ballot counter.
Okay, Lucille, if you could add that to your name, and anybody else who has a role, and of course I should add mine as Toastmaster, but I think you all know that by now. So Jerry, are you comfortable sharing the Joke Master and table topics today?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, and we don't have any guests, so we're not going to explain roles. We're going to move right into our meeting, and Jerry, take it away.
Okay, I'll give you the joke. This is kind of an old Rodney Dangerfield joke. A guy goes to the doctor's office and he sees the doctor. The doctor says, "Hey, you're kind of fat. You're putting on a lot of weight." And the guy goes, I don't know, doctor. I don't know. Maybe can we get a second opinion? He goes, "Okay, you're ugly."
Nice. That was great. Thank you for that. Okay, we have an amazing speaker for today's speaking portion of our meeting. We only have one speaker. That's because Angel is giving a longer speech. Her speech is going to be 10 to 15 minutes. She sent me a wonderful introduction, which I'm going to read verbatim because she did a very good job in preparing it. So today our speaker is Angel Nicholas. Angel is a graduate of the University of London who was a teacher for 37 years. Angel moved to California from West London in 2005, and she has been a Toastmaster since 2007. Angel says that she's a big fan of Expressions Unlimited Toastmasters. She was introduced to Expressions Unlimited by Stacy when Paul was our president in like the 1970s. Oh, no. When Paul was our president, Angel served in many capacities, including president more than once. Wow. And even named her photography business after Expressions Unlimited in 2010. Angel was never able to finish the final speech for her Silver Award project, and today she's taking that opportunity. With the Zoom meeting and screen sharing being available to her, and she will be using a PowerPoint presentation. And she has 3 exclamation marks, so I'm excited. The topic of her final Silver speech is the importance of the introduction. And the topic of this final Silver speech is the importance of the introduction. Now, if you haven't guessed by now, today's speech is the importance of the introduction. So please help me welcome Angel for the importance of the introduction. Angel, you got it.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for that introduction. And hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm going to talk to you about the importance of an introduction when you give your speech. And you know, if you're in the habit of giving an introduction, you won't really need me to help you out. But there's a lot of Toastmasters and a lot of speeches given elsewhere where people just say, and now Lisa, and now Devin. And it's really kind of an extra time that you have available for yourself. Setting up your speech and giving yourself the intro that you deserve is very important according to Toastmasters International. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you. Oops, I already didn't do it. So let's click share screen and see if you can see that. Does everybody wave if you can see it saying creating an introduction? Brilliant. So this is from the Better Speaker series, and doesn't make you a better speaker, but it makes your audience more ready to hear you when they've heard your introduction. So if you can see these slides, I'm going to go through some of the things that we want when we're giving an introduction. And Lisa, you did a fantastic job just now, because that was a smooth transition setting up what I was going to do, and that's the value of your introduction. Also, depending on what your speech is, it might be very serious, very somber, it might be comedic, it might be informative, it might be very inspiring or very mundane, but you want to get your audience into the right frame of mind, and of course, give them a little bit of insight into your own authority on the subject that you're going to talk about. So that's really why you want an introduction. And if you don't have one, you're missing out on a lot of these facts. Now, the general essentials I've got here in my little presentation. Obviously, you give the speaker's name. Don't wait, because a lot of times they kind of build up going, well, guess what we've got today? They're this, they're that, they're the other. Give the name right away. Let people know who you're talking about. And then also go on to obviously the topic. You're going to tell them the name of the speech, but also it's really important to give them a little bit more information about why you're giving the speech. Now, we usually do this in our club, but I think a lot of opportunities are missed in other situations. And it's often something that I don't even know today, quite what my assignment is, apart from the obvious, to get you excited about introductions, to get you always to prepare one. And the length of it depends on the length of the speech. So it shouldn't be a really long one. You can decide that according to how long you're talking for. The objectives aren't necessarily just for evaluation purposes. They're not necessarily just for your evaluator or for the club. If you're speaking anywhere, you really want to get your audience on your side and understand why you're speaking. So think of that old adage of first you tell them what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them what you're telling them, and then at the end you tell them what you just told them. Which is kind of what I'm doing today. I've told you I'm going to tell you about this. I've told you I've got this presentation, and those are the objectives. And people start to hook in or make notes as well, according to what you've warned them and what they're focusing in on. how long you're talking for. It's really important, because if you're having an engagement anywhere, while people are eating lunch or something, they want to know how they've got to sit there for. Now, today will be easy for me because Lisa asked me some questions for the introduction. But in general, that would probably be left up in the air for you to decide what are the important points. It shouldn't include points about the speech itself. You're going to wait and bring those up. But it's just a little teaser. You might say a couple of questions. Have you ever thought about this? Or anyone here ever worried about the other? And try and avoid using any of those little cliches that we sometimes use. You're going to decide the approach that you want your introducer to have. This is great because you can say to them, I want you to bounce on stage and give me a big, or you can, absolutely decide how should that be approached and work with them according to how you'd like it to be. Also, again, you can tell them how long you want them to talk. You don't want people bored before you've even got up on the stage. And what delivery, is it slow? Is it serious? Is there something else involved? There could be some props, some audio or visual aids. And just really, you're clarifying why you're there and why they should sit in that seat and wait and listen to you. So this is obvious for everybody, but it's important to have these points written down, maybe to help you when you're preparing it, and you can get them from the TMI website. Now, for the introducer themselves, you must apply some restraint. You don't want to upstage the speaker that you're speaking. If you're more beautiful, more effervescent, more enigmatic and delicious, and you speak better than they do, just tone it down a bit. And don't reveal what they're going to talk about in any detail. This happened to me a couple of times. It's even happened where the other speaker was speaking on much the same topic. And if they speak before you, you think, oh God, they've made the points I was going to make. So you need to shift around a bit and hustle when that happens and be ready to do that. But at the same time, ask them not to reveal any details of the speech. And don't surprise you, because sometimes they do, they think it's cute, but you want to know kind of what your introduction is involving. So thank you for doing that today, definitely. This is something that doesn't come from me, it comes from Toastmasters International. They do not recommend that we praise the speaker's skills. They believe that we should let those listeners decide for themselves. So your audience is going to really figure out whether or not you're a good speaker or whether or not they like your style themselves. And although we often say someone's a seasoned speaker or something, that's another cliche. And you can say they've been doing this for a long time or you've always enjoyed their speeches, but we don't generally recommend that you go too much further than that in building them up about how great they are. Just give them that warm, warm welcome that they deserve. And then again, it says here not to have cliches and not to leave the name till last, because often that's a ploy, and I've seen it done quite a lot. And sometimes they even say he needs no introduction, but everybody does, right? Now, of course, as a speaker, you also have certain responsibilities that I'm just going to run through here. Be available to offer information related to your speech to the people that you're speaking for and your introducing person. Find out who that person is going to be. We always know at Toastmasters, but you might be speaking at a dinner club or anywhere else. And let them know of any special considerations. And that depends from myself that I have a service dog. It could be, you know, that you have trouble with the steps. It could be that the light is going to be too high and you want to go in first and make sure it's not in your eyes, or any little things, you know, just let them know what things should be set up for you before you speak. And of course, there's that horrible issue of the lectern. Hands up who loves the lectern. I can't see any hands yet. Oh, one does, maybe more. I can't see all of you right now, but the lectern is quite an issue. If you're not going to be using it, kind of figure that out beforehand and ask for it to be removed before your speech comes around, if possible. And if your introducer wants it, you can just let them know, you know what, can you manage without it? Because it can be very distracting. It can hide you or your hands or something as the speaker. And if you want it off to the side for notes or something that you might need, just let them know ahead of time. Lecterns can be noisy as well when they're moved, and I think they're kind of a pain in the neck. They're not usually very beautiful, but if you want the lectern, make sure you know. Always have them come up and speak to the audience, not doing anything else, and have them lead the applause. If you're introducing someone, you are responsible for building that up. And don't wander off and have a cup of coffee after that or something. Stay engaged and keep showing that you're interested in them. I don't know if we're allowed to shake hands anymore. It would look pretty ridiculous if you're doing elbows, but of course you want to give them a friendly professional welcome and leave the lectern immediately so that they can begin their speech. All right. I'm hoping that you're seeing this because I'm seeing messages that my internet is unstable. And so I'm hoping you can still hear me now. And just remember that if you're introducing someone, do what Lisa did today and show your interest in the speaker. It's really appreciated. And of course, it's not just the introduction that you're doing. You're also hopefully going to be taking them off at the end. So once you are done with your speech, make a clear pause. It's nice if you can just literally look down and then say, thank you. And then your introducer generally sees you off and they would hopefully be applauding and encouraging others to applaud if you're done. And then they are responsible for the end. Now, at the end, they can also speak a bit about you and you can ask them to if you want, and just basically mention one or two of the core ideas, or if you have a positive response to it, comment if there was a joke, any point of entertainment, anything that was amusing or that you enjoyed about the speech, or just, oh, we all enjoyed that, didn't we? Something positive is really helpful. And mention if you think it helped you or enlightened you, and you can even ask them, is there any feedback? What are your questions? Have you got any thoughts? And that often happens when you speak anywhere. So obviously that's your job as the introducer. You come in, and I'm hoping now that I'm almost done, there'll be some words of thanks and appreciation for preparing you this little PowerPoint. And the only conclusion that I have is to say, do master not just the art of speaking, but master the art of introductions, and you will do no wrong. Thank you very much, everybody. I'd like to stop sharing, but I'm not sure how.
I think that also Devin is able to do that. But if you go down to the bottom, I think, or at the top, a few options.
I have no bottom. That's the thing. I just have you people on the side.
I'll take care of it.
Nothing else. So yeah, there you are. Devin.
No problem.
Thank you.
Angel, I don't know why you waited so long to share that valuable information. I picked up a few new strategies just now, and I thought your delivery was spot on with the screen sharing, but I'm not your evaluator, but thank you for
very much.
Sharing that presentation and being on time with it. And with that, I would like to ask all of you to send Angel a comment or two using the chat function on Zoom, and we will take a minute to do that. The timing is perfect because that was my last obligation with my manual, is introducing the speaker. So how timely was that?
That is wonderful. I'm very happy that that worked out. And to answer your question, we didn't have PowerPoint presentation gear, and we didn't really know how to do it in the previous setup. So that's why I figured I'd do it now, get it done, and then more and more of us are moving up through the Toastmasters levels in our club. It's good for our club, so I'm happy we could do that today.
Zoom has given us independence, to be sure. Okay, another perhaps 30 seconds, and I will then turn it over to our general evaluator. Today's general evaluator is Paul. Paul is not only an experienced speech evaluator, but he also gives thoughtful evaluations of our meetings. Paul, you have control.
All right. Well, thank you, Lisa. I'd like to introduce Stacy, who will be evaluating Angel.
Thank you, Paul. I started out right away with an issue, and I think it's my computer maybe, that I could not see her screen sharing, and I got a little distracted with playing with the buttons trying to figure that out, but might have been something I did. I really liked your speech a lot, Angel, because you were very animated. You were very happy and you used your hand motions a lot. So it was very fun to watch because you were very animated. I loved how you explained what you were going to speak about. You told us what the essentials of the introduction was. Yeah, and I love that you said, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them, which is really good. Your face was happy and animated. You had great continuity because I didn't hear you pause a whole lot and you didn't use filler words. You were just really, it flowed. I just flowed very evenly. And I love that you use the word lectern rather than the word podium, which is overused. People use podium, and that's actually, when you think of the Olympics and people standing on the little box, that's a podium. So I love that you use the correct word. That's just maybe one of my own little issues with words. And I loved how you made your conclusion be a really firm conclusion, that you ended it the way you should end a speech, is to conclude with something that makes sense. So excellent speech, Angel. I was very happy to hear what you said, and I learned something too. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the messages in the chat as well. Cheers.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Stacy. I'm going to return the meeting back over to our Toastmaster, Lisa.
Thank you for that, Paul. Well, we have a lot of time for our table topics today, so I'm sure Jerry has provocative questions for everybody. And I was thinking if we had time at the end, we could perhaps even start Stacy's presentation early if she so desires and it works out with Devin. But we can discuss that after the table topics portion. I hope everybody's very excited because I know that Jerry's put a lot of thought into this, and I would now like to turn control of the meeting over to our table topics master, Jerry. Please welcome Jerry.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, well, we had a theme today of Independence Day because Independence Day is coming up, and I thought I would talk a little bit about it, is how we came about having this great revolution. That a lot of Americans think that it was just America breaking away from Britain, but it was really a whole lot more than that. The Declaration of Independence really was creating something that had not existed before, which was a democracy in an era when everything was ruled by monarchies. And so it was quite a change. And this came about due to the Enlightenment, which is the word of the day, is the Enlightenment, which is a period of time when, also called the Age of Reason, when people started to use science, get away from religion and superstition, and move into an age that was more about self-improvement and governing ourselves rather than being ruled over by kings and tyrants. So on that theme, I wanted to ask some questions about about democracy and about our form of government. And I wanted to start off with a volunteer. Who's the first one that wants to volunteer? Oh, let's see. Obviously, nobody's going to raise their hand. I'll go with Debbie. Just give you a heads up. Debbie, how important is freedom of the press to a democracy?
Oh my goodness. Freedom. Thank you for that question, Jerry. And I actually have an answer today. Freedom of the press is essential. It's so important that the press is what is letting the people know what's going on. And it's amazing right now how we have two different presses, and depending on what station you listen to, you have a completely different definition of what's happening in this world right now. And it's very frightening and scary to me. My husband says no matter which channel you're watching it, he calls it North Korean news, because everybody has their perspective and they're giving us what their perspective is. And I don't think either side, honestly, is being 100% honest. And so the enlightenment is that we really need to be careful and think about who's telling us what and who's lying and who's not, and find out what the real truths are in our world today. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. That was great. Okay. Let's see. How about Paul? Are you ready, Paul?
I'm ready. Bring it.
Okay, thank you. Do you think that separation of church and state are important?
Thank you, Jerry, for that table topic. Yes, the answer is yes. I don't know how enlightenment would fit in this, but I think the ideals perhaps from the Enlightenment would allow for the separation of church and state. In the old days, when they had the Crusades and the Middle Ages and stuff like that, there was no separation of church and state. In fact, I was talking to my oldest daughter about this the other day. Back under the Roman Catholicism, and Rome was the main power, and Catholicism was the main religion, there was no separation. The artists of the day, they painted what the church wanted them to paint, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to feed their families. So in that sense, in Catholicism, at least back in the day of the Middle Ages, they pretty much owned everything. They owned the land, they owned the people, they owned politics, and that's not obviously good. So for a democracy to flourish, you really need to have that separation of church and state, and the freedom to worship as you please, whatever religion that is. I think that's all great. And I think that intertwining the two, the state and the religion together, is bad news. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Paul. Okay. Let's see. We got Anita. Anita, how about, do you think the right to assemble and protest is important in a democracy?
Thank you, Jerry, for that question. I believe it's essential in a democracy to be able to protest, to be able to protest peacefully. And the other day, I happened to be in Vista while there was a protest going on. Of course, we were sitting at a little outdoor restaurant while the protesters walked by, and we were enjoying our beer. But it was very interesting to see the families bringing their kids. And I thought it was wonderful to show them that it is an important right that we have here in the United States to be able to protest. I believe that we're an enlightened country, and that it's essential. But to protest when it gets out of hand, I don't agree with that. But I do believe we have the right to peacefully protest.
Thank you, Anita. Okay. Lucille, do you think all people should be treated equal under the law?
Thank you for that question, Jerry. Do I think all people should be
Treated equal.
Treated equally under the law of the land? That's a very tough question for me. But as far as the law is concerned, everybody should be treated according to that law. If they violated the law, then the law should be followed as well. So in that regard, I agree that everybody should be treated equally according to the law, because if you violate the law, then you also need to be treated accordingly. In other words, that is a tough one for me. Anyway, I agree with that, and due process is very important in a democracy, and also due process when it comes to the law is equally important. That's why we have the justice system and the court. But in any type, there's always something that goes beyond the law. And the enlightenment for me is that I think, like Anita had said, we are an enlightened country, and if we follow what the forefather had said and follow the law of the land, I think we should be fine. But I know that's not always the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucille. Okay, Deanna, you ready? You have to unmute. You got to unmute. Deanna, what are citizen responsibilities in a democracy? For you as a citizen, what is your responsibility while living in a democracy?
The first thing would be to vote.
Yay!
That's our privilege to vote. And I think it's also important for us to listen to others and be able to listen to both sides. So as a democracy, people have so many different viewpoints. So I think it's important for us to be respectful of others and understand that people are going to have different points of view. And through the course of listening to other people and hearing where they come from, their background, their enlightenment can transfer to you. And I think that would be a good foundation for our democracy for each of us individuals.
Thank you, Deanna. Okay, Devin. Devin, do you think public education is important in a democracy?
I do, yes. I think some of what brought on a lot of the Enlightenment and then the founding fathers of America, I think a lot of it was in response to kind of a lot of the class systems that they were seeing, especially in Europe, that they weren't all given the same opportunities. And a lot of that went back to education. If you were never taught to read or write, how were you going to move forward and get out of poverty that so many found themselves in? So I think having access to education is extremely important, and especially, for moving forward with, real change. And, if we aren't educated, we can't understand other people, other perspectives, other cultures. So having that access available and equal, which is not entirely happening right now in the country, but I think that would be what we should strive for, is that everybody is given the same opportunity and fresh start as children.
Thank you, Devin. Okay, Megan. Megan, is democracy the best form of government?
Okay, yes, thank you, Jerry. I love that question because definitely I think democracy is the best form of government. I do not think that we should have dumb answer, but we shouldn't have a monarch or a monarchy or a communism, or this is the way, and this is what everyone wants. Everyone likes their own independence and they want themselves to be heard. Then it's not all on the president, it's on who we elect, which they control our government. The Congress, really, and then the president makes his decisions based on what the Congress tells him. Well, he should. And so I don't know. I think that democracy is the best way in order for everyone to feel included, or that they are giving their own ruling on the country. So they're not all being taught or directed on what to do. People are in charge of their own selves. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Megan. All right. Let's see. I got a couple more. Lisa, would you like to take a question?
Certainly. Thank you.
Okay. What do you think it would be like to live under a monarchy or a dictatorship?
Well, looking back at history, I think that the privileged who lived under a monarchy had great fashion sense. They were able taxpayers' money, living the best life possible. But for everybody else, the millions and multitudes who lived in utter poverty, I think it was not the best option, because just like in certain religions, when one person is given total authority, then a lot of people suffer. And they suffer not only because they have not the financial resources, but they also do not have access to being educated. So with the Enlightenment, I feel like the minds of so many millions of people were opened when they gained access to education, which in turn gave them access to financial well-being and options and choices. And even today, we see that people who grow up with education, who grow up with resources, their futures are much better. And that's the result of living in a democracy, not in a monarchy.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. I think I'll do one more. Stacy, what could be done to make America more democratic?
Oh my, don't get me started. It's funny you should ask that. I've been watching lots of videos lately on what really happened in Europe and Germany in World War II, and it's just mind-blowing how our country doesn't always tell us the truth, and history is tweaked and warped, and we're not really hearing the real story. So your question was, how can we make this, I forget it, the exact question, better? How can we make this country
more democratic?
More democratic. Listen to the people more. The people know what's going on. It's the same as a big company trying to rule over their employees without listening to them. It's very important to listen to the people and to listen to what they have to say, because they are the good feedback for a true democracy and enlightenment. So that would be my answer to your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'd like to turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster, Lisa.
Thank you for that, Jerry. Jerry, I wanted to ask you, how long have you been with Expressions Unlimited?
I think it was around 2004 that I started going, but I didn't go all the time. I haven't gone like, religiously. There was gaps of years where I didn't go, but I started in 2004.
Well, it shows in your consideration of questions and how you conduct table topics. And that was a very provocative session. I feel like everybody had answers that were right on par today with what one would expect. So please take a moment, and you can take a moment to write any comments you might want using the chat function to participants. You can take a moment to get your thoughts together to vote. Would our grammarian let us know, first of all, what timer, was everybody within the time limit?
Yes, everybody qualified for table topics, and also Stacy and Angel were both on time for their pieces as well.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't ask for that earlier, but I should have. And Deanna, as our grammarian, did everybody use the word of the day today?
Yes.
right?
Oh, except for Megan.
Yes, I had Megan did. So our table topic contenders are Debbie, Paul, Anita, Lucille, Deanna, Devin, myself, and Stacy. Basically, everybody you're looking at except for, I think, Angel, right? Because she was our speaker.
Who do we send the vote to? Is it?
Lucille.
Oh, Lucy. Thank you.
So while everybody's writing their votes and doing that, and I can bring this up at the end, but we are ready to move into reports and then the president's time. So we'll be done early. Would we like to start Stacy's presentation a bit early, after maybe 5 minutes to use the restroom, that type of thing?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd like to give everybody a couple minutes of a break in between. But yeah, if we're ahead of schedule, that's great.
And Stacy, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, that's fine. I'm ready.
Okay, great.
I'm sorry,
So-
can I just ask
How
a
long will
question?
it be?
Are we going over the meeting today? Is
Yes,
that
so
why we're doing it?
the plan is, if those who can stay, once we're done with our regular meeting, and we'll be done earlier today, probably in the next 5 minutes, we are going to, those who can stay are going to listen to Stacy give her presentation on, I think, conducting a meeting, which, if you can stay, that's great. She needs at least 5 people to listen, work through some of it. And so if you could stay for whatever portion you can stay would be great. And if you
How
can't,
long is it for, honey? How long is it?
It's supposed to be an hour, but I can tighten it up if you need me to. I can make
I'll
it.
stay as long as I can.
I'm not good at expanding on stuff anyway, so it probably might be less. This is my requirement, Debbie, for AC Gold. And I sent out an email to everybody through Expressions Unlimited, so maybe you just didn't read the email.
I'm sorry, I was bad. Okay.
so we will move into the report for our meeting. And I would love to get a report from our counters today. Anita.
Hi, first of all, I want to say that as a pretty new person to Toastmasters, it is so inspirational to see everybody speak and not use all the filler words and all of that I know that I still do. And it's just gives me a goal to work towards. Pretty much everybody was perfect. I always, whenever I'm counter, it always really surprises me when the speaker doesn't have any ahs or any filler words. There were a couple. Devin had a couple of ands, Lucille had a couple of ands, and Megan had a couple of ums. I think Devin, it was, I'm sorry, it was you knows, a couple of you knows. But that was about it. It was pretty much flawless. Thank you.
Our grammarian, Deanna, would you like to provide your report?
Sure, it's a pretty short report. I didn't detect anything off from a lot of folks. I did notice that I like the word effervescent that Angel used, and I also like the word lectern as well. And Lucille, there was just some incomplete sentences, but I know it's because you were thinking of what you wanted to say. But otherwise, everything was really, really good.
Our general evaluator, Paul, would you please provide your evaluation of our meeting and anything else you'd like to add?
Sure. I really enjoyed this meeting. I think it's so fun. We're just getting ready for July 4th next week, and obviously we don't have a meeting next week. Maybe we do. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. So first of all, Angel, on your evaluation, I thought that, or actually this was Stacy's evaluation, sorry. Stacy, you had a lot of positivity. You had a lot of energy. I enjoyed your smile. That was really well done. Did a great job. Angel, I really enjoyed your talk. You had a lot of vocal variety. So you took what could be a dry subject and slides that were already prepared for you, and you presented them, and you added a lot of color to each of the slides with your experience. And vocal variety, it really went off great. And Jerry, on table topics, I enjoyed the table topics immensely. I thought they were provocative. I thought that they were fair and balanced in terms of there's no slant to them. It's just like, what do people think? And I gave everybody an opportunity to answer the question in the way that they saw fit. So I thought that was really well done, Jerry. And thank you for everybody joining today.
For some of us who are newer to Toastmasters, we're not sure how to give our report as general evaluator, and that was a stand-up report from Paul, who covered the aspects of our meeting, covered the evaluation given by Stacy, touched on a few other things with the speaker, and if any of us ever have questions, all of our responsibilities are available online. Finally, I just found out we have Megan here, who's been with Toastmasters for 17 years. Thank you for telling me that, Megan. Woohoo! Woohoo. Megan, did you notice anything as our watcher today?
Well, I have, Lisa, all right, I'm just watching, making sure everyone's paying attention, which everyone did, which was great. I think that Lisa had great knowledge on great introduction, and Angel, it was a good use of the arms, and which is hard to do with a Zoom because you have to keep your arms up here. And so that really, that's.
I couldn't see myself. I was reading.
Oh, well,
So
I just commend you. I think you did a great job. As said before, you had a lot of, and Stacy, a lot of entertainment animation. That was very good. And Jerry and Debbie, Paul, Anita, Lucille, Deanna, Devin, Lisa, and Stacy. I wrote y'all's names down as you were talking because I was gonna say, what you needed help with or whatever, and you did great. Everyone's name that I mentioned, you really, I think that it shows that you've done this before and that you speak perfectly. It was great. Oh, and the Zoom thing, it is good. The lighting, and everyone seems to have worked that out. So everyone looks comfortable with it.
Well done, Megan, well done. So that concludes the meeting portion, except for the grand finale, which is acknowledging the winner of today's table topic. And today's table topic winner is Jenny. I just scared my cat. All right, with that, I will turn control of the meeting over to Devin, our president.
Thank you, Lisa. Excellent job as always as Toastmaster. Great energy. It was wonderful. Let's pull up the schedule for next week. Oh, so next week, reminder, we are going to take off. So we're going to give everybody a nice little break to come back in July, nice and refreshed. So the week of July 10th is what we're looking at, and we have a lot of open spots right now. Does anybody want to step in as Toastmaster or Table Topics Master?
Not Toastmaster. I want a simple job such as odd counselor.
Okay, you got it. Yeah.
I need a break.
Yes, you've had quite a rush.
Jerry, but I'd like to volunteer for the table topics and ask you some questions.
Okay.
I'll be grammarian.
You can
Anybody
put
else
me
know
in a
they're going to
role.
be here?
I'll do
I'll
it.
do-
Doesn't matter what.
Devin, I'll do timer.
Okay. Do you want to take Toastmasters, Stacy, or do you also need a break?
Well, I need a break, but something else. Thanks.
How about general evaluator?
That works.
That one's pretty simple.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'll have to find somebody to be Toastmaster. All right, so we are almost done. I just wanted to say one thing, if you'll indulge me for a minute. This is the end of the term, and I just want to say how proud I am of our entire club. You immediately switched over to virtual meetings with no complaints. You embraced the new technology. I know for a lot of you, you had never even heard of Zoom before this happened, and you've really jumped on and done fantastic. We were really pushing our education goals at the beginning of the term, and we stuck with it, even down to this very last day. We are going to get you guys over the finish line, and we are officially President's Distinguished. And I actually think we're going to end, Lucille, with 12 points once we get everything in. So we far exceeded goal. So this weekend, Deanna and I will be busy submitting all the final reports for everybody. But I just wanted to take the time to acknowledge that you guys have done fantastic. You've been really great and supportive. And I've been so proud to serve as your president. And thank you so much. And I know Deanna and the incoming officers are going to continue our wonderful streak. So thank you so much, everybody.
Good job, Devin.
Hooray!
You're awesome.
Thank you, Devin. Good job.
I just want to say something. Devin, thank you so much. As a longtime member of this club, I'm so proud of all of you. But speaking as a district director, which is my term also ends in June 30th. Thank you so much I'm so proud of my home club to make it to President Distinguished, because it helps your area and also the division, which helps the district. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for making me so proud and contributing to the success of the district as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. This
Good
was
job.
a challenging year to be the district director.
You did it, girl. You held
Yeah.
it all
Fantastic.
together. Great job.
Good job, Lucia.
Does anybody have any other announcements before we end our official meeting? Go ahead, Stacy.
I just have a quick question. When I sent the email out to everybody for my presentation, I just asked for an evaluator. I wondered if anybody printed out those pages to be my evaluator. So I didn't think everybody had to do it. And it was in the instructions
I
in the
don't
letter.
think so. We just need one. I have the exercises. I can print out the.
Yeah, I have the exercises.
There's an exercise and an evaluation. And the evaluation is farther back in the booklet.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll take a break and I'll go find those pages.
And then I want to
Pages
see
of